week we've seen Cori Bush out. She's sleeping night after night out in front of the Capitol building. This is somehow going to represent what it's like for homeless people, um, with her $70,000 worth of security. But anyway, so she's railing about people like you who are opposed to this extension, which Biden already said they couldn't do. He already said we checked it 4 times, quadruple checked, and I guess on the quintuple check, they realized, oh, maybe we could. It's all a sleight of hand. They can't do it. It's not lawful. They're doing it anyway. They're trying to run out the clock until it gets back up to the Supreme Court. But here's Cori Bush trying to explain why this is necessary. Listen.
When you sleep outside on the ground, you are open and you are vulnerable to all the elements. However, whatever those elements are, it was cold last night and now it's super hot. We've still been here. I still have on the same clothes I had on last night. I'm dirty. I'm dirty, I'm sticky, I'm sweaty. I still have on what I had on last night. This is how people will have to live if we don't do something. 7 million people, 6 million, 11 million, how many ever it is, they deserve their human dignity.
What's your message for her?
I don't know if it's that simple of an answer, but simply just allowing tenants to not pay rent. I mean, where's the human dignity for me cleaning up heroin needles and feces in my home that has unpaid rent for over a year and it's destroyed. So, I mean,
I just wonder, what is she even suggesting?
Yeah, like,
I get that she cosplayed for a couple of days, and look, people that have the lived experience of homelessness, it is terrible. She's not totally incorrect, which is why this issue is so important, because we're kind of mixing a few kind of key distinct things. One, if we're talking about actually helping people that are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness, we're talking about housing them. That's the paradigm of these housing programs through HUD, or HUD funded programs, and just in general for housing programs. It's called Housing First. And what it means is when you have somebody that's experiencing homelessness, like let's say you're sleeping in your car, it's impossible to go get a job. It really kind of is too, because where do you brush your teeth? Where do you wash your clothes? You do that at your home usually. And so I understand what she's getting at. There's some truth there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. These policies are getting rid of landlords like Adam and his family that would maybe they would rent to this gal and her $70,000 worth of security sleeping, on the steps. Maybe she could pass the application process. And even if she didn't, maybe they would figure out how to make it work. But she's essentially stating like, oh, well, housing's a human right, which I would also potentially agree with that. But what she's not talking about is what this means for your property rights. And that's where the conversation has to shift, because we used to have property rights. I actually remember before the moratorium. I remember before COVID. It's the strangest thing. That was like 10 years ago, it feels like, right? But we had a little bit more rights back then. And if you were to see, the difference between like Adam's demeanor, his family's demeanor, the stress that this puts on them, it went from being like, I'm sure glad that we have these units, to supplement our income as our parents are in retirement age. It went from that to, I really hope that we don't lose everything. And so how can you even work with these programs if the risk is, maybe maybe the unit's fucking destroyed, okay? Yep. Or maybe it's not. But this person's saying, well, I'm sleeping outside and it's cold and stuff, and it's like, well, hey, those are kind of unrelated issues.
And you guys were already trying to solve the issue she's speaking about. You need willing landlords like Adam who will lower the rent, who will check on the tenant, guys like you who will go give the guitar lessons and just take a risk on somebody who the BlackRocks of the world will not. And
Right.
her approach, which doesn't factor in landlords' rights, property rights, or the humanity of the landlords renting at all, is a disincentive to them to help the very people she claims to want to assist.
Correct.
Right. And you're supposed to reward good behavior. So these tenant advocates, I consider myself an affordable housing advocate. Because I have a huge heart for, people in rapid rehousing programs, people on Section 8 vouchers. There's also a type of voucher called HUD-VASH, which is Section 8 for disabled veterans. There's a huge need for the services that they provide. But if you eliminate, whether it's through increased taxes or increased regulation, massive, like this has never happened. This type of regulation to happen kind of all with a stroke of a pen to fundamentally change the real estate market in the state that in Washington State. They don't realize that, well, there's going to be less and less and less rental homes for people to rent to. Spokane's not in the news for a lot of things. Usually we're in the news for like a serial killer or something like that. But we were recently.
You in Iowa.
yeah. We got some cool stuff going on over here.
Cool. Right.
Yeah,
We'll get into
it's
that
pretty
next
exciting.
episode.
Pretty exciting. We also have the hottest rental market in the United States. One of them. I know we were in the top 5 a month ago, and we were the number 1 for rent increases. And the reason why that this is kind of happening is the housing stock's going down because and this is specifically for single family home landlords, right? Not apartment buildings, but single family homes like Adam's parents have. When you sell that home, you're not selling it to another landlord. You're selling it to an owner occupier. And so that rental unit just goes away. There's one less home for a family to move into. And it's not just affecting people that are experiencing homelessness, it's affecting everyone that wants to rent.
Yeah.
That's why the rent's gone up so much, because guess what? These landlords see, you know what? This risk, what's happening to my property rights is not worth it.